Hey everyone, perhaps the best weapon attachment in all of Arc Raiders is the Kinetic Converter. This legendary stock gives your weapon a 15% fire rate increase, which can give you a humongous advantage in heads-up PvP fights, and it's going to feel like you're absolutely melting other players. In this video, I'm going to show you all of the best spots to farm for Kinetic Converters and the Anvil Splitter and Snap Hook, as well as the rare horizontal grip. Now, there is a downside to this attachment though, which is a 20% increase to vertical and horizontal recoil, which is a setback for sure. However, you can easily mitigate that penalty by running a muzzle brake 3, which reduces vertical and horizontal recoil by 25%, and or the horizontal grip, which reduces recoil by an additional 30% on top of that. So most players that run the Kinetic Converter prefer it on their SMG of choice, typically a Bobcat, but you can definitely feel that faster damage output on pretty much every single gun in the game. Now, the trick with the Kinetic Converter is that you can't craft it with your workbenches, which means the only way that you can find one is in raid. And not only does that apply to the Kinetic Converter, but it also applies to the horizontal grip as well, which we're going to show you how to farm also. It's in the exact same spots that we're going to show you today. So what's the best and easiest way to find the elusive Kinetic Converter? Well, I'm going to show you all of my favorite strategies to get your hands on them and a free method that doesn't require any keys for locked rooms at all. And quite frankly, this actually is the best method in my opinion. We will go over that in just a moment. So one thing to note before we dive into these best methods, and that is I have found that there are very, very specific spots on the maps that have a role for a legendary item which is higher than other areas. So if you are specifically trying to acquire legendary items, then going to these locations is by far and away the best strategy. That also means, by the way, that when you're doing this legendary farm, you are also going to be getting the other two legendary items like the Snap Hook and the Anvil Splitter, and tons of horizontal grips, as well as an assortment of other pink drops like the Photo Electric Cloak, Woolpack Grenades, and pink stocks as well. But before we begin our runs, it's always nice to have stims because you're truly farming these items, then you're going to want to be sprinting directly to these locations and bypassing absolutely everything in between. Also, as far as being in PvE lobbies versus PvP lobbies, PvE lobbies obviously are a lot safer, but a higher chance of the loot being gobbled up by those goblins. And the PvP lobbies, obviously more dangerous, but less chance to compete for those high loot locations that we're going to be going to. So the choice is yours really, but personally, I found myself in PvE and or 50-50 lobbies most of the time. Now let's start with my favorite locked room locations first, and then we'll dive into the free spots just after this. So there is a buff to locked rooms, if you didn't know about it, with the last patch. So these rooms are more consistent and noticeably juiced compared to before. I do always recommend night raids as your best option, but you'd be surprised how good some of these keys are during the daytime as well. Now, the first key that's hitting really well for legendaries like the Kinetic Converter is the Spaceport Control Tower. This key was honestly pretty mediocre before the last update, but now, since the buff, it's been giving out a lot more legendaries. There's even some times where I go in and I get 2 legendaries in one visit to this room. So very, very nice key, Spaceport Control Tower. The next one that I like is also in Spaceport, and that is the Warehouse Key, one of the better green keys in the game, and that's partly because it has a solid chance for a legendary as well. I've gotten countless legendaries in here, and it remains a key that I will always hit if I find it. Another one of my favorite locked rooms for legendaries is the Dam Control Tower. One of the best keys in the entire game, of course. Since the locked room buff, even better. This place has been absolutely crazy, and on more than one occasion, I have gotten multiple yellow drops. And as far as keys go in general, this place is one of the absolute best spots to hit. Another great key is in the area of Dam Staff Room, which is just below the control tower. And this is honestly the best green key in the game, in my opinion. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer volume of pinks and legendaries that you can pull from it. The lockers in this place can be absolutely ridiculous sometimes. So definitely make sure that you are hitting staff room every single time you have that key. So those are my top 4 locked rooms for legendaries. But honestly, like I said earlier, the free and keyless method I'm about to show you is the absolute best for farming yellows. The drop rate for yellows and pinks is really, really high, and it doesn't require a key to enter, so you can just endlessly farm this location over and over again, whether it's daytime or a 2x map condition. Now, the best free spot to farm legendaries is the 2 breach rooms that are pharmacies in Buried City. One of them is the pharmacy in Arbusto, and the other is in Rosa. And conveniently, they are very close to each other. So you load into Buried, you dead sprint to whichever is closer, and then you rotate to the other one right after. And then quickly, exfil. There's 2 exfils very close together. Whether you're on nighttime or daytime, you can get in and out extremely quickly. And Buried is a small map, so you're not going to be really struggling too bad if you get a bad spawn. You can get to these locations quicker than you might realize, and you'd be surprised how often they are not hit. So definitely do not give up on your runs if you get a spawn that's like near Grandiose or something like that. Do not give up. Just full dead sprint, and you'd be surprised how often they are available. Much like the keyed rooms, I do think the roll is better on nighttime condition, but I've gotten so many yellows in these 2 breach rooms during the daytime that it's perfectly viable to just continually farm these spots, even if there isn't a 2x condition up on Buried. And on the subject of 2x map conditions, I really like hitting these spots on Hurricane, because the Hurricane map condition, there are so many players that are just going directly for the caches, which means that your competition is much lower when trying to hit these spots. And players are dying a little bit less because they're just kind of all farming on the outside. And it means that there's less backfill spawns coming into the match as well. So after a couple of days of farming these spots, I had so many legendaries and pinks that I didn't even know what to do with them all. I started deleting pinks like left and right. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this method, and happy hunting out there. I really hope that the video helps you, give you a clear direction on the best way to farm for legendaries in Arc Raiders. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you dropping a like, and I will catch you in the next one.